Hey, hey, hey. Time for the Out of This World story from rSpace. Okay, so here you are. 9-year marriage, celebrating anniversaries, sharing laughs, and quietly patting yourself on the back for adulting well. When suddenly your wife drops the bomb that she wants to energize your sex life by opening the marriage. Today on rSpace, we aren't talking about a little role play. Found out my wife had cheated before she asked for an open marriage. Her friend came clean. I destroyed her happiness with precision. I, 36 male, and Adriana, 34 female, have been married for 9 years. We literally just celebrated our anniversary a week ago. That's part of the reason why I absolutely hate that I'm here writing this. I've always been very open with my emotions with her ever since the time we started dating. I love her so intensely and sometimes it clouds my judgment, but I don't want that to happen now. I want to make the right decision, and it's why I'm here to look for advice. Maybe my feelings have clouded things, but I genuinely think that we've had a fantastic marriage, especially as we're nearing a decade together. There's not an aspect of it that I can really complain about. We chose not to have kids, which was something that I had to see the reason in, since I was on the fence before. That was probably the only real point of contention in all the time we've been together. We're not rich people, but we do okay for ourselves. There's not a single aspect of our lives that I feel we should be unhappy, especially for Adriana. We communicate well. The reason I've been questioning things so much is because I want to understand what her motivation is for coming to me to ask about us opening our marriage. I asked her that day because I was confused. I was working on my laptop in the living room and she walked up to me and said she wanted to talk about something important. When I gave her my attention, she revealed that she wanted to talk about her sex life. She said that it wasn't bad, but that she felt that we could energize things by opening our marriage. My mouth actually dropped open because that was the last thing I expected her to say. I expected to hear about role-playing or exploring fetishes. I was pretty sure that we had both trash-talked open relationships in the past, so it seemed like a complete 180 on her part. Through over 10 years of being romantically involved with one another, that never seemed like the kind of thing that she cared about. I asked her exactly why she felt that we had to energize things. She admitted that it wasn't bad the way it was, and that it was actually very good, but she felt like we didn't have to be satisfied with where things were. I was so confused. She kept talking and she mentioned trust. She said that open marriages were a great way for us to build trust and for us to not get bored with each other. When I asked her if she was getting bored with me, she said no. That was even more reason for me to not understand where the request was coming from. I asked her if somebody had fed her with the idea, but she said that wasn't the case. She had just naturally thought about it, and she had also done research on couples with open marriages. Apparently, her findings were that they were all happier than they were before things got opened. I struggled to believe that. Part of the problem I have with the concept of an open marriage, even if I chose to agree to it, is that as men, we know how hard it is to get someone to agree to sleep with you, especially when you're relatively average looking like me. Women, even the average looking ones, can have a line outside the door if they want. I don't make the rules, and that's just the way things are. Even if I was a little tempted to agree and open the marriage, that would have been a major thing that stopped me. I let her know that I was going to think about it, and that the answer seemed to be good enough to her. But honestly, there's very little for me to think about regarding agreeing. The only thing I've been thinking about is why this came up all of a sudden. I've gotten paranoid about my performance in the bedroom because if you love someone and your sex is good enough, then why exactly do you want to start sleeping with random men who may or may not please you the way you want to be pleased? Pardon my French, but it is whore behavior to me. Maybe get all that out of your system when you're in college or when you're not in a relationship, but don't do it when you have someone. I know that the advice is always to immediately walk away from someone the moment they ask for an open relationship, but I love Adriana so much, and that's a hard choice for me to make. I'd rather just tell her no and move on with things, but all the stories that I have read make that out to be a very stupid move, so I'm really split on how I should proceed. I appreciate any advice that I can get here. Don't be afraid to tell me I'm being a fool or that I should grow a pair. I can take it. I just don't want to end up making a huge error in my life, whether it be letting her go so easily or sitting around and being a cuck. Update 1. Since the time I put my last post up, things have taken a turn that I couldn't have seen coming. I was wondering why my wife suddenly wanted us to have an open marriage so badly, but I know why now, and the only reason I know is because someone had the conscience to let me in on the truth. Adriana asked me whether I had finished thinking just once since we had talked, and I told her I still needed time. To be honest, I think that I was delaying what I didn't want to do. However, the day after that, a friend of hers reached out to me. I'll be changing her name here just in case Adriana somehow finds this post, but her name for this will be Sam. She reached out to me on Instagram for some reason, even though I had her number. I didn't think that it was weird until she had said that she really had to talk to me. She said that it was important and she wanted us to meet in person so she could explain everything well. She's not someone that I'm wary of, so I accepted the invitation, and I made time to meet her the next day without Adriana knowing about it. She told me that she was sorry for being so cryptic, but she wanted to tell me something, and she didn't want to have any records of being the snitch. She begged me not to let Adriana know what she was about to tell me, and to let her know that she could trust me. She asked me to confirm whether my wife had talked about an open marriage recently, and to let her know that it was true. It felt weird hearing about it from someone else. It's not like I didn't expect my wife to talk with other people about that sort of thing, but to actually have proof of it didn't feel right, especially because I was yet to tell anyone else about it. I was still keeping it close to my chest. She said that she knew the reason why she was so insistent on us opening things up. She asked over and over whether I wanted to know what she had to say, and I told her that she could just say it. That's when she told me that Adriana had already cheated on me, and the reason why she wanted the open marriage so bad was so that she could feel as if she had not actually cheated. In her own head, she was going to retroactively attribute her one-night stand to the open marriage. It wasn't surprising to me. I had thought enough about the open marriage that the outcome had occurred to me, but I never thought it would be the actual case. I asked Sam how she knew about all of this, and she said it was because Adriana had told their friend group, which was my wife and 3 other girls. She had regretted it, she admitted, and it happened because she drank too much and she started to act easy around some of the guys that were at the bar they were at. She didn't know the name of the guy she slept with, and she had told the girls that she didn't remember most of the actual act, so it wasn't even worth cheating for. The girls told her off for it and said that they had warned her to slow down that day, but she didn't listen to them. Adriana asked them for advice, and one of them said she could let it go. Sam and the other one said that if it was bothering her that much, she had to admit it. She said she was scared that I'd divorce her if she did, but they said that she had to come clean if her conscience was eating at her. Sam had suggested that Adriana vowed to me to quit alcohol and bars for life, but she didn't seem excited about that idea. In the end, the topic died down, and a week later, Adriana came with what she thought was a brilliant idea. She was going to ask me to open the marriage. She said in the messages that I was a lover boy, and that I was probably going to do it if she really laid out the pros. She clearly thought that just because I love her so deeply, it meant that I was going to be a fool, and I took offense to that. I asked Sam why she had decided to come and tell me. She said she couldn't really explain, but she had a guilty conscience. We had met several times, and she knew I was a good guy who didn't deserve that kind of betrayal. The open marriage wouldn't erase the infidelity from Adriana cheating. It would just open me up to even more pain when I had to withstand my wife sleeping with all sorts of people. I thanked her for helping me out, and I made sure she knew that I wasn't going to expose her. I deleted the messages from her on Instagram, and she did the same. After that, I went back home. I wanted to confront her so badly. I can't lie, but I had to hold back because it just wasn't time yet. I didn't have any evidence of her claims because I couldn't throw her friend under the bus. I told Adriana that I was going to go along with the open marriage, and she was so happy about it. She hugged and kissed me and said that it was going to be fun. She said I could always tell her if I wasn't enjoying it anymore. That night, when she went to bed, I grabbed her phone and screenshotted a lot of her messages with her girls. She had already texted them that night to rejoice about her plan working. No one replied to her messages, which I liked. I remember wondering how I ended up with the worst one in that group of friends. Now that I have evidence, since she admits to her one-night stand in the messages, I'm going to get a divorce lawyer, and after that, finally confront her. I've been itching to do it, and I hope I'll be able to keep my emotions in check when the time comes. It wasn't about boredom, dissatisfaction, or even exploring something together. It seems like she was trying to retroactively justify something that already happened. That changes the dynamic entirely. Open marriages can work for some people, but in this case, it wasn't about growth or mutual exploration. It was about covering up infidelity. Update 2. I've finally been able to confront Adriana. As a quick refresher, she cheated on me. I had no idea, and then she came asking for an open marriage as a means to feel like she never actually cheated on me. I only found out that she cheated because one of her friends came clean, which I really appreciated. I told Adriana that I accepted the open marriage to bring her guard down, but I'm going to hit at her so hard. I've learned a lot from the stories here, so I chose to wait until I got a divorce lawyer and I had spoken to him about absolutely everything, including submitting the evidence that I had. Once that was all done and the divorce papers were ready, I hired a process server to have her served while we were at home. I didn't want to give her a second to be able to comprehend things before I confronted her. When it happened, she came back from the front door looking dumbfounded. She asked me what I was doing and whether it was a joke. I told her that it wasn't a joke. She asked whether it had been because she asked for an open marriage, but I told her that couldn't be it, After all, I had accepted, hadn't I? She asked me to just explain what was going on. I told her that it was only half about the open marriage and more about what she had done before that. I could have sworn I saw her face go pale. I let her know that I knew she had cheated on me, and that was why I was getting rid of her. She just stood there, holding the papers with her mouth open, and she looked so stupid. She couldn't figure out what to say in that situation. I'm sure her first instinct was to deny it, but she couldn't do that. She was smarter than that. I told her that she effed up so bad, and I was going to make sure she paid for it. When I said that, she decided not to lie. She just started begging me, claiming that it had been a mistake and that it had happened when she was under the influence. I told her that none of that was an excuse. I picked up my phone and set a timer for an hour and 30 minutes. I let her know that was all the time that she had to pack her things and get out of the house. She kept begging, but after that point, I didn't say a single thing to her. It wasn't that I had nothing to say, but I genuinely realized that I wouldn't be able to truly convey the way I felt to her. It would be a waste of breath. So I just let her beg until she was tired, and then she left and went to go on and start packing some of her things. She took longer than the time I allocated, but at that point, I just wanted her gone. When she had packed everything, she put it in her car by herself and she left. She wanted to talk to me before she left, but again, I had nothing to say to her, so she eventually left. She's come by to come and get more of her stuff, but we barely interact, particularly because I refuse to say anything to her. She told me that I'm killing her, but that only makes me feel much better about myself. All that's left now is the actual divorce, and I'm just hoping that things go my way. If I still have enough resentment in my heart at that point, I'll be sure to hurt her in other ways. Update 3. After this whole journey that I've taken you along with me, I'm happy to say that I'm finally a single man again. After 9 years of marriage, it's not the kind of thing that you want to have to say, but if you've been married to a woman who cheated on you and then thought that the solution to that was to ask for an open marriage, then you should be happy to say it. This will be my final update, so I will try my best to address everything that happened in the last stage of all of this. The most important thing for you to know is that the divorce went relatively smoothly for me. We had to go in front of a judge because once the thing actually started, she went the way that most cheating spouses go and she started getting petty. She wanted a lot more than she knew she deserved, especially because I wasn't afraid to show all the evidence I had of her plot to try and feel better about her cheating. The judge awarded her the apartment and her car, which was fine by me because I was open to moving. It was annoying since I had retained the house and kicked her out, and now I was the one who was going to have to move out. However, I kept my car, which was the more expensive model by far, and I don't need to worry about paying her any alimony, even though she earns quite a bit less than I do. Her lawyer kept raising up issues regarding that, but the judge didn't want to hear it. He asked the lawyer whether he felt his client should get a pat on the back for cheating, and he didn't say much after that. Once things were finalized, I had to arrange to get all of my stuff moved out into storage, which I did as soon as possible. There was a police escort as I did all of that, but I could tell that she felt really powerful as she watched me move out of the apartment, not even a house that we had bought. I made sure not to do anything that would get me in trouble. I knew that I would deal with her after everything was settled. Once I had moved out, I stayed with a friend for a few weeks while I looked for a new place for myself. However, I knew that I wanted to hurt Adriana, and I really planned out the perfect way to do that. The first thing that I started with was to expose her online. I needed everyone to know her character, and I really wanted anyone who searched her in the future to know what she was capable of. I made it clear in what I wrote, and I posted that she wasn't the kind of person to be trusted if she couldn't even be trusted in her marriage. I gave her parents a call to let them know what their daughter had done. They both sounded disappointed in her and claimed that they were going to talk to her, but I doubt they did, though that didn't matter to me. I just needed to make sure that they heard it from me personally, since they wouldn't see it online. Adriana saw it online though, and called me. I started recording the call from the moment I picked up. She said I was going to sue me for harassment and making false claims against her. I told her I hadn't harassed her since I hadn't contacted her since I packed out of the apartment. I also made it clear that none of my claims were false and I had the evidence to back it up. I made sure to post the screenshots of her messages as I was on the call with her, though I blurred out her friends' names because they did the right thing and didn't deserve to be dragged into this whole mess. When I told her to refresh the page and see that there was now backing for my claims, she lost her mind. She told me that she was going to make me feel pain and regret it if I didn't delete my post. I stood my ground and hung up the phone. I made sure to report to the police right away that I felt threatened by what she had said. They said that there wasn't a clear enough threat to my life, but that I could call them if she showed up at my house or at my work. She didn't know my new address, but she was in the parking lot of my workplace when I pulled in. As soon as I saw her, I texted a coworker and told him to call the police, and I explained the situation. When she saw my car, she came up to it and started banging on the window. She was yelling at me to get out of the car, and I told her that I wasn't going to do that because I felt threatened by her behavior. I told her that she was acting emotionally and irrationally, and I didn't know what she could do in her frenzy. I was using these words specifically to trigger her, and it seemed to be doing a good job because she was getting angrier. Once she was angry enough, and I spotted my coworker standing by the door to our workplace recording, I got out of the car and started walking to my workplace. She kept trying to block me, and at one point, she pushed me hard into the chest. "Get out of my way, crazy witch," was the sentence I said that set her off. She said, "What did you call me?" like 5 times in a row, and when I told her that she had heard me loud and clear, she spat in my face. Then I watched as she picked up a piece of gravel and started scratching my car. At that point, I started recording too, and I had less than a minute of footage before the police showed up. "You're going to jail, crazy witch." She had seen the police cars, but she clearly wasn't thinking because she chucked the piece of gravel at me, and I was unlucky enough for it to hit me on the chin and cut me. The police officer didn't waste time in grabbing her from behind and pitting her against my car. I was able to rile her up enough for her to do something that stupid right in front of a cop. She's dealing with charges of vandalism, assault causing bodily harm, and resisting arrest without violence. She's posted bail, but I'm sure she's not going to get off on all of those charges. The best part is that she deserves all of it. I didn't tell her to crash out on me. I only posted the truth online. If she didn't want to be portrayed that way, she should have been a better wife. It's not that hard to not cheat. The only time she has spoken to me was when she called, drunk, asking me whether I was happy that I had destroyed her life. I told her that she had destroyed her own life, but I didn't mind watching it. I told her not to call me again, or I'd get her charged for harassing me too. She hasn't contacted me since then. Revenge isn't ever going to be the morally right thing to do, but it feels good. That's all I know. Thank you to everyone for following me through this journey. I'm just glad to be at a point when I can say that it is all over. She tried to gaslight you into thinking an open marriage would energize things, when really she just wanted to erase what she'd already done. That's not some wild, sexy experiment. That's straight up manipulation. She showed you exactly who she is, and I'm glad you're not giving her the satisfaction of playing the poor me card now. She's ruined her own life, and all you did was shine a light on it. Honestly, I hope she's embarrassed every time she thinks about how she handled this, because she should be. If you found out your spouse cheated and then tried to convince you to open the marriage to retroactively justify it, what would you do? Thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you next time.